Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
Good afternoon and welcome to Now Express. My name is Cheka Ago. Thanks for staying with us, by the way, if you've been with us since 2 p.m. Let's move on to our next conversation for today. If you listen to us, often, and I hope that you do listen to us as often as you can, you would know that we are big on accountability, and, with the journalism that we do here, we want to always hold our leaders accountable, and my next conversation is doing just that. The functions of the local governments, right? And these functions that our local governments have to carry out must be funded, and money comes to them to do these things sometimes. So whether it is clearing out your drainage or fixing your roads or taking care of primary schools, monies have been allocated for this, or even the primary healthcare centers. But oftentimes you walk around and so many things that should have been done by the local governments are left undone, and you're asked, or you're forced to ask this question: why is this undone? Well, today on Now Express, we are going to have a conversation on finding you possible answers to many of these questions that you have. And we're going to start from the beginning. Do you know how much is allocated to your local government and your area council every month? Because if you don't, then you're unable to actually prosecute these questions that sometimes leave you wondering, why is my environment looking the way that it is? And so today, we're going to have that conversation with two very interesting gentlemen who are going to help us make sense of this. Here in the studio with me is Kunle Lawal, Executive Director of the Electoral College, and Iyanu Oluwabolarinwa. He's joining us virtually. He's the Acting Head, Open Governance and Institutional Partnership at Budget. And this, by the way, is a program put together by Budget and Electoral College. So let's get straight into this conversation. Mr. Kunle Lawal is with us, in the studio rather, and Iyanu Oluwabolarinwa joins us virtually. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Lawal.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Bolarinwa. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'm going to get started with Mr. Lawal, because, you're here with us in the studio. We're about to have what is a very important conversation. For you, why is this necessary? Why have you decided to take on this project?
So, of course, we at the Electoral College have always believed that the first handshake of democracy to the people is the local government. Now, if you look at a state like, let's say, Lagos, political participation in local government elections is below 7%. And that means there's poor interest in local government. This is not to negate looking at the massive FAC allocations, and then, of course, our collaboration with Budget, who, of course, are very, very concerned with financial appropriations, within government, has been able to get us to trigger people to be more concerned about the first contact of governance to them, which is local government. Most people have spent so much time talking about Mr. President and things, way out of their jurisdiction. We have tried to bring out the subtle things about the local government which people don't understand. Like, first and foremost, they do not have immunity. Nobody within the local government has immunity. So if you take them to court, they will go to jail. They are not as honorable as we think they are. Now proceeding on to other things about no local government in Nigeria, of course, receives less than 180 million per month. And there's this conversation, yes, Lagos and its FCDAs. So if you take a place like Etiosa that is on approximately 765 million per month from the federal government, if you divide it into two by its two LCDs, they're talking of more than 320 million per LCD. So it's not small money. It's not. We don't see it reflecting healthcare. We don't see it reflecting primary schools, which are the which are the jurisdiction of local government, and we don't see it in drainages, parks, and stuff. So we're very concerned about this because these are the first contact, local government's first contact to Nigeria.
Right. Bolarinwa, let's come to you for a moment. Can you talk to us about the path that this money follows from the from the source, which is the FAC, all the way to the local governments? How does this money exchange hands till it gets to the lowest tier of governments?
All right. Thank you very much once again for having me this afternoon. Also, to my Oga on the other hand, Mr. Kunle Lawal. It's nice talking to you once again, and thank you very much to all our listeners who have taken our time to learn one or two things about governance, about how the Nigerian financial system work. All right. So how does the funding get to the local government? So naturally, the local governments are supposed to get their monies directly from the federal allocation account, which is called the FAC, right, on a monthly basis, as the federal government is doing is normal sharing and giving out to states and the local government. They're supposed to be getting their funding straight from that. However, that's not been the reality. And that's one of the major dilemmas that we've been in, even as civil society organizations. And that was part of the things we try to advocate for as towards the autonomy of the local government. The federal government has given local governments an opportunity and a chance to cascade governance to the lowest level. However, what we see in state governments, putting these funds in a joint allocation account, where all these funds are now determined and its use are determined by the state governor. Now, what happens in that space? We saw what happened in Ogun State. We all read the news about how the local government chairman was not pleased with what the state governor at that time was doing. And what led to, one thing led to another, and he was, impeached from his position. So when we don't have strong hands or strong decision making by the people who are electing their local government chairman, right? When there's too much overbearing influence from the state government, right, it becomes difficult for them to even manage their funding, because some of these states, through their legislative house, they decided not to sign the autonomy law into their own, to adopt it into the state. So that becomes a challenge, right? It becomes a challenge, and it becomes very difficult for state government, for local government chairmen to be directly in charge of these funds. However, we believe that there's still a lot of room for advocacy for us to be able to get these funds right to the grassroots as it should be, so that we could also see the reflection of this funding and of these spendings of people in the grassroots.
Let me stay with you for a second, Mr. Bolarinwa. So now we are broadcasting out of Lagos Island, which is where Radio Now is situated. The office of the local government chairman is not very far off from the studio. I can actually see his office from my window, and it's interesting the figure that you say comes, that this report says comes to Lagos Island local government every month, right? You've released data covering the months, but you're covering January to June this year, and in that time, the highest money that Lagos Island received is 678 billion 471 million 421,003 and 0.03 kobo rather. The least money that we received was in May, right? And this was 500. Actually, it was in April, not May. The list we received was in April, and that was 515 billion 697 million 293.02. This money, does it include IGR or is it just money that came from FAC allocation? Help us understand what, how this money is here, KMCB.
All right, so this money is just straight from the FAC account. It doesn't include IGR, right? And it's just part of the sharing formula that has been decided by the number of persons in each of these local governments. And what you will also see is that this particular sharing, is being calculated by how big the state is, what's the number of population in that particular state, what's the number of population of persons in that particular local government, and also to look at under what jurisdiction does this particular area fall under. You would see that there are some states that get the 12% derivation from the federal allocation account as well, which are the states who are oil producing states, right? However, while that impacts how much you get, what we're supposed to see is that this money is actually going directly to the local government chairman.
Before you continue, I want to make a quick correction. I just realized that I read the figures wrong. It's actually, I said billion instead of million. So the highest that we received in June was 678,471,000, and then the least we received was 515,697,000. I apologize if the number scared anybody. All right, so Mr. Bolarinwa, go on.
All right, so I was just trying to let you understand how this particular funds are administered to the state. Basically, it's around how much persons are in that state, also around what is this particular state getting the 12% derivation because they are an oil producing state, and also to look at what's the number of persons, and that's why population census is very important, right? That's why you've seen a lot of Nigerians saying that the last census we had, which is more than 10 years ago now, it's not accurate to calculate, and it's part of these are part of the conversations that go into how the federal allocation account is being shared across the country. So this money, like I said, to answer your question again, it doesn't include the IGR. The IGR are internally generated revenues, which are coming from the effort of the local government directly to the local government. Then there's a way they remit it to the state as well. But then the federal allocation account comes directly from the federal government.
Right. Mr. Lowell, this is on the surface, good money, right? If Lagos Island alone, is collecting 678 million naira in the month of June, and that is, coming less than 30 days or 30 days after they received 541 million in the month of May, right? Many would say, taking a look at Lagos Island, that it doesn't look like we're getting this amount of money. How should people begin to assess if they are receiving enough money or not?
Okay, you know what? I'm going to try to take out, the curtains and, let's have a conversation on what exactly it is. FAC allocations are like, how would you put it? It's like your inheritance for being part of Nigeria. Let's look at it. So let's look at the federal being the grandfather passing money to his children. Of course, passing money to the state, which is local. Trust fund. This thing. So it's giving trust fund to every month, and this is every month. It goes first. It gives to the state and also gives to the local government for being part of Nigeria. That's part of the revenue the entire country makes. Now, Lagos.
But it gives to the states, it gives to the local government through the states.
No, it gives to states. States receive FAC.
Okay, yeah.
Also, that's the point I'm making. Okay. States receive FAC separately, and local governments receive FAC separately.
Directly from the federal government.
Yes, directly from the federal government.
Okay.
But now we're going to break this into two. The there's been a common issue or a common argument that these FAC monies do not reach the local government. It's normally being used at there's a joint account which states came up with, the Ministry of Intergovernmental Affairs, which of course they put these monies in because part of the functions of the local government is also to make economic recommendations to the state. So governors hide under that. But Lagos State, this money goes directly to the local governments. Governor Sanwo-Olu has done, ensured the autonomy of local governments. So now back to Lagos mainland, Etiosa, and your other. So Nigeria looks at it as 20 local governments. Lagos has 37 LCDs added, making 57 components of the local governments. A place like Lagos Island, which we are in right now, earns as much as 735 million naira per month. I believe there are 2 LCDs in Lagos mainland, right? So approximately each LCDA has approximately 356 million per month. Note, per month. What is local government in charge of? Drainage, primary health care, security, roads. And now I'm going to clarify something. The way government works, that argument of federal road is null and void. To local government, if a road is in its jurisdiction, local government has the power. If a park is in its jurisdiction, it has power over it. Do you understand? Abattoirs. Local governments are in charge of registrations of births and deaths. The primary education is also vested in the local government fully. It's not a governor has nothing to do with primary schools. Secondary education is vested in the state government. Now, where it hurts me with Nigerians is that we're so interested in presidency that participation in local government elections in a state like Lagos is below 7%, which is shocking. That means 7% of your voting population, which is already less than, give or take, in a presidential election. Lagos has approximately about 8 million voters now, and Lagos has never produced up to 3 million voters in an election. So imagine 7% of that only participating in the local government elections. It is appalling. And the results of that are the block drainages you have on the Lagos Island, the thin roads. I was coming here, I would say my leg was almost hit by a car, but because of how thin the roads are. Lagos Island is nothing to look about. The shops are virtually on the street. Taxation is also vested in local government. That is taxations of bicycles, cars, taxation of businesses, also outdoor adverts. So I'll give you an example. Even though they are collecting these three, we've divided into what the LCDs, 2 LCDs are collecting, 385. I assure you that in a place like Lagos Island, Lagos Island IGR cannot be less than 200 million per month. It's not possible. Lagos is a highly urban city, and it's highly, advanced. Lot of business, lot of things going on. There's no how their IGR can be less than 200 million. So put each LCDA at approximately 500 million. That means in 2 months, each LCDA has £1 billion naira. And we're still in this rot. That's the question people really need to ask themselves.
Right. And I mean, it's important that we ask this next question. How do people begin to prosecute what this money is being spent on? It's going to? So if anyone is listening to us right now, what would be a proper line of action to take? I mean, before the next elections, between now and then.
You don't need to wait for the next elections. I stated clearly earlier, nobody in the local government, be it councillors, be it vice chairmen, be it secretary, which are not elected, but let's talk about the elected ones. The local government chairpersons, vice chairpersons, and councillors are not immune There's no immunity. There's no immunity clause in the constitution covering them. Meaning, if you take them to court, they will go to jail. So it is simple. If you are afraid to take them to court in Lagos Island, if it's Lagos Island chairman, carry the case to Ikeja and prosecute it from there. If he pain you and you still feel that Lagos, they are all biased, carry the case to Ogun State, or better still, carry it to Abuja. This money is too much. 1 billion is too much to be vested in someone whom you call honorable, that is depriving you of pipe-borne water, depriving you of drainage, and depriving you of a whole lot of things, and he will still come and you call him honorable. What is also honorable about that? The greatest, and I'd say this clearly, in the year 2022, I think the total money allocated to local governments in Nigeria was 2.23 trillion between 774 local governments. That money is unaccounted for. If we really want to concern ourselves, leave Abuja alone. Face your local governments.
I mean, it's interesting that I'm looking at the figures for Alimosho here. The only time Alimosho received less than £1 billion naira this year were in March and April. And both times Alimosho received 958 million and 920 million in March and April. But every other time since the start of this year, Alimosho local government has received over 1 billion naira
to one local
government. And if you live in Alimosho and you take a look around you and it doesn't feel like your local government receives over £1 billion naira every month, what are you going to do about it? That's the question that you should ask yourself. Let's come to you, Mr. Bolarinwa. What you've released here is the very important figures. They cover the months of January to June. How do you advise people engage with these figures? Where can they go find it? And what do these numbers mean to those who will finally lay their hands on them?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. And I think having the knowledge is where you first, you start taking your actions from. And one of the things that we do very well is to, encourage people to take actions. It's not enough if you do all this work, do all the research, put out the numbers, and you just read and you feel that nothing is not going to happen out of it. Then, I mean, practically, if we all just fold our hands, then nothing is going to happen. But if we all, are able to rise up, start to ask questions from the elected officers, start to, engage in court processes, and also community meetings, right, where everybody is on the same level when it comes to knowledge, right, it helps a lot. Then if you want to know how to lay your hands on this data on a regular basis, because as I speak to you now, we've now updated to the month of August, and that's the month that we have all the FAC allocation for the country. You can sign up on me.budget.org. me.budget.org. When you sign up on this platform, it's going to ask you to put in your local government, right? Once you put in your local government, anytime we upload anything on that platform as concerning your local government, be it project, be it how much your federal allocation account was deposited to your local government, and all that information, you will get it immediately via your email address which you've subscribed on the platform with. So therefore, it's important for us to understand that we are not just putting out these numbers just to put it out sake. We put it out these numbers because we want people to stand up. I mean, it's not, the numbers are not going to push themselves to work. The numbers are actually real monies. So maybe and we've been saying it that sometimes Nigerians are very, 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 there's a problem of not being able to grasp the enormity of numbers. When you say 100 million, when you say 200 million, a lot of people don't understand how much that money can actually do in our immediate environment. So therefore, I want people to go sign up so that you can see this information in real time as it's being uploaded. You might be shocked that the abandoned road on your street is actually been awarded already, and there's nothing that has been done on it. So we all need to take action. We can't be everywhere by ourselves, and that's why we continuously educate people through mediums like this, radio, television, print, as much as we can, just to ensure that a lot of people have this information at their fingertips. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And I really hope that this is the start of, the more active, the more engaged citizen, because it's going to be for the advancement of our society if we all pay attention and play our role in developing our communities. Again, Iyanu Oluwabolarinwa is the acting head, Open Government and Institutional Partnership at Budget, and Kunle Lawal, Executive Director of the Electoral College, joining us here in the studio to discuss this very important conversation around how much money is allocated to our local government and area council every month. Again, find this data and hold your local government chairpersons accountable. Up next is the big story. Stay with us for that conversation, and Kunle Lawal is going to join us for that one too, right? Thank you very much for being so kind with your time. So stay with us. This is Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We're back up in just a touch.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from